We're told to stop caring what people think. That's complete BS. Your brain is literally wired to care. Here's the truth. Let me be real with you. I spent 5 years trying to stop caring what people think. Read all the philosophy. Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Carl Jung. Bought the books, highlighted the quotes, posted them on Instagram like they meant something. And you know what? I still woke up every morning checking if people liked my posts. Still felt that knot in my stomach when someone didn't respond to my message. Still changed what I was going to say based on who was in the room. The advice didn't work. Not because the philosophy was wrong, but because everyone's treating this like a mindset problem when it's actually a biology problem. Your brain isn't broken. It's just running software from 10,000 years ago, and nobody ever updated it. Here's what I mean. Picture your ancestors. Small group. Maybe 50 people. Everyone knows everyone. You share food. You share protection. You survive together. In that world, being pushed out wasn't awkward. It was death. No group meant no food, no safety, no future. You'd die alone in the wilderness. So your brain developed an alarm system. It learned to treat social rejection like a predator sighting, because for most of human history, it was exactly that dangerous. Fast forward to today. You post something online. Someone doesn't like it. Your brain hits the panic button. Same alarm, same emergency response, completely different situation. Your nervous system can't tell the difference between the tribe abandoned me and Karen from accounting didn't like my photo. Same circuit, same fear response. This is why caring what people think feels so urgent, so physical. That racing heart, that tightness in your chest, that's not weakness. That's your body genuinely believing you're about to die. And here's the thing nobody tells you. You can't think your way out of this. You can understand it perfectly and still feel it completely. I knew all this. Could explain it to anyone. Still felt terrified posting my real thoughts. Why? Because understanding doesn't rewire the circuit, but it gets worse. Because the software bug isn't the only problem. You've also been programmed, and you didn't even know it was happening. Before you turned 7 years old, you weren't thinking. You were absorbing. Like a sponge. No filter, no questions. Just download after download after download. You had the critical thinking skills of a golden retriever. Very trusting. Very absorbent. Very easy to program. Whatever your parents believed, you believed. Not because it was true, but because you literally couldn't question it yet. The part of your brain that pushes back didn't exist. Mom said you need to be polite? Downloaded. Dad said don't make waves? Downloaded. Teacher said stay quiet? Downloaded, all before you could consent to any of it. And those downloads didn't disappear when you grew up. They became your operating system. The invisible code running your adult life without you even noticing. That voice in your head saying you're not good enough. It probably learned your mother's exact tone before you could form complete sentences. The belief that you need everyone to like you. Downloaded from watching adults stress about what the neighbors think. You absorbed it, made it yours. Forgot it came from somewhere else. Here's the question that changed everything for me. The beliefs you're defending right now, are they actually yours? Or are they hand-me-downs you've never examined? Most people never ask that. They spend their whole life defending beliefs they didn't choose, living by rules they didn't write, seeking approval from standards they didn't set. I did this for years. Thought I was being authentic. Turns out I was just running someone else's program. So we've got two problems. Ancient brain software that treats rejection like death, and childhood programming that taught you to seek approval before you could walk. No wonder you care what people think. You were designed to care, then trained to care even more. But here's where it gets interesting, because there's one distinction that actually matters. One idea that cuts through all the philosophical bullshit. It's simple. There are things you control and things you don't. Their opinion of you, not yours. Whether they approve, not yours. What they say about you when you're not in the room, definitely not yours. You can influence these things. Sure, be nice, be helpful, be genuine, but you cannot determine them. You cannot force someone to like you. You cannot make someone approve. Trying to control what you can't control isn't just frustrating. It's suffering, pure suffering. I spent 3 years trying to make everyone happy, adjusting what I said, changing how I acted, reading the room, playing the game, exhausting myself trying to control their reactions. And you know what I controlled? Nothing. People still thought what they thought, approved when they wanted, rejected when they felt like it. But here's what I do control: my effort, my response, my attention, my integrity. That's it. That's the complete list. And that's freedom, not controlling outcomes, but releasing your grip on them, not making everyone approve, but becoming someone whose worth doesn't require their approval. This isn't motivational bullshit. This is practical. When you stop trying to control what you can't, you suddenly have energy for what you can. But most people do the opposite. They hand their sense of control to other people, make their inner state dependent on outer reactions. If your self-worth depends on whether they approve, you've just given them the remote control. They press a button, your mood changes. They withdraw approval, you collapse. That's not self-worth. That's a loan. A loan with compound interest. The more you take, the more you owe. The more you need their approval, the less you have of your own. Real self-worth comes from one source: you. Living by standards you actually chose, not performing for an audience that isn't even paying that much attention. And there's something making this harder than ever: the internet. Your ancestors compared themselves to maybe 100 people, their village, their neighbors, a manageable pool. You compare yourself to millions, and not to their reality, to their performance, their highlight reel, their edited version, their best angle and perfect lighting. You're comparing your behind the scenes to everyone else's commercial, and it's destroying you. People who scroll for hours feel worse, not better. Not because screens are evil, but because you're drinking salt water for thirst. The more you drink, the thirstier you get. I watched this happen to me. Scrolling, comparing, feeling inadequate, scrolling more to feel better, feeling worse. The loop just kept going. Here's the shift that helped. Comparison isn't the enemy. Unconscious comparison is. When you catch yourself measuring, ask this: am I comparing to a real person or a performance? Whose standards are these? Mine or someone else's? Just asking breaks the loop. Doesn't fix it completely, but breaks the autopilot. Now, here's something that's going to sound weird. That voice in your head, criticizing everything you do, it's not the enemy. You know the one. Tells you you're not ready, not good enough. They'll reject you. It replays your failures at 3 a.m., predicts disaster before you even start. Most people fight this voice, try to silence it, feel broken because it exists. But here's what shifted everything for me. That voice isn't trying to destroy you. It's trying to protect you. It's a bodyguard. It learned early that criticism was coming, so it decided to criticize you first, beat them to it, prepare you, soften the blow. The problem isn't that the bodyguard exists. The problem is, it doesn't know the danger is past. You're not 7 anymore. You can handle disapproval now. But the bodyguard never got the memo. So what do? You don't fire it. You thank it. Then gently show it the threat is over. I used to fight my inner critic, argue with it, try to shut it up, made it louder, stronger, more persistent. Then I tried something different. When it showed up, I said this: thanks for trying to protect me. I've got this now. You can rest. Sounds weird. Felt weird the first 100 times. But it worked because fighting the critic strengthens it. Curiosity disarms it. Now let's talk about the thing everyone avoids. Vulnerability. Showing up before you know the outcome. Speaking before you've rehearsed. Admitting you don't know. You were wrong. You're struggling. Everything in you wants to run from this because you've been taught vulnerability is weakness. That's showing your real self hands ammunition to people who might use it. But the opposite is actually true. People who feel genuinely worthy don't avoid vulnerability. They move toward it, not because it's comfortable, but because they recognize courage requires it. Think about anything brave you've ever done. Telling someone how you felt. Starting before you were ready. All of it required showing up before you knew how it would land. That's vulnerability. And that's courage. They're inseparable. Here's the reframe that changed how I see this. The opposite of people-pleasing isn't becoming cold. It's being honest. Honest about what you want, what you don't want, who you are, even when it creates friction. Because belonging comes from being seen. If you hide yourself to be accepted, you're not belonging, you're auditioning. And there are parts of you that have been hiding for a very long time. Every emotion you were told not to feel, every desire labeled unacceptable, every time someone said, don't be so loud, or why can't you be normal? A part of you went underground. You split yourself, showed the acceptable version, buried everything else. But here's what I learned the hard way. Those buried parts don't disappear. They run your life from backstage. The things you hate in other people, often the exact things you've rejected in yourself. What you despise out there is usually what you buried in here. I spent years hating people who were too loud, too confident, too unapologetic. Then I realized That's exactly what I wanted to be, but was too afraid to try. That realization hurt, but it also freed something. Growth doesn't come from pretending you're perfect. It comes from bringing what's hidden into the light, acknowledging the parts you've rejected, letting them back in. This isn't some mystical journey. It's practical. You can't integrate what you won't acknowledge, but knowing all this isn't enough. Understanding won't save you. Insight doesn't equal freedom. You can agree with everything I've said and still wake up tomorrow seeking approval. Knowing better rarely means doing better. So here's what you actually do. Not theory, action. Every morning, look at yourself in the mirror. Not a quick glance. Actually look and tell yourself the truth. Not affirmations, truth. Where are you falling short? What are you avoiding? What would you do today if you stopped caring what they think? The mirror doesn't lie. Neither should you. Write down that last question. What would I do today if I didn't care what people think? Don't overthink it. Just write. Then do one thing from that list. Today. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Today. Start small if you need to. Post something real. Say what you actually think. Make the call you've been avoiding. One thing. Your brain needs evidence, not philosophy. It needs to see you didn't die from being yourself. Next, question your beliefs. When you notice yourself seeking approval, ask this: do I believe this because I examined it or because someone handed it to me? Whose voice is this? Mine or programming from before I could question? Most beliefs won't survive honest questioning. That's not a problem. That's the point. This isn't about becoming someone new. It's about dropping everything that isn't you. Now here's the deepest piece. The one most people avoid because it's uncomfortable. You're going to die. Not trying to be dark, just stating reality. Most things you worry about, what they think, whether they approve, only matter if you pretend you have unlimited time. If you had infinite years, sure. Spend them seeking validation. Spend decades living someone else's script. Spend your one shot performing for people who aren't watching that closely. But when you actually absorb that this ends, something clarifies. You're not afraid of dying. You're afraid of dying without ever having lived as yourself. That fear, the real one hiding under all the others, that's what's driving your approval seeking. You're trying to stay safe. But safe from what? From being rejected? From being alone? Here's the truth. You're already alone. We all are. And that's not depressing. That's liberating. Because if you're ultimately alone anyway, why are you spending your limited time seeking approval from people who are also alone, also scared, also performing? Facing your mortality doesn't make life meaningless. It makes approval seeking meaningless. You have one life. You're burning it, worried about the opinions of people who are also running out of time. Let that sink in. Here's what I want you to understand. Your entire life, you've believed there's a real you trapped under all this conditioning. Your job is to dig it out. Find yourself. Discover who you really are. But that's not how it works. There is no you who is conditioned. There is only conditioning. And when you stop identifying as the patterns and start watching them, they lose their grip. Not because you fight them, but because you're no longer fused with them. The observer is not the thing observed. When you can watch your approval seeking without being it, everything changes. You don't need to find yourself. You need to stop abandoning yourself. You don't need permission to be who you are. You only needed to stop asking for it. Freedom was never about adding something new. It was always about seeing what was never true. So here's where we end up. You care what people think because your brain thinks rejection is death, and you were programmed before you could question it. The solution isn't more philosophy. It's not shadow work or meditation or journaling for 6 months. The solution is action despite fear. Evidence over understanding. Building a life so aligned with what matters to you that other people's opinions become background noise. Stop trying to stop caring. Start building something worth caring about more. Do the thing that scares you. Notice you didn't die. Do it again. Let your nervous system catch up to reality. Because confidence doesn't come before action. It comes after. You're not waiting for confidence. You're waiting for permission. And I'm telling you right now, you already have it. Stop asking. Start doing. The approval you're seeking? You're the only one who can give it.